In the 1930s, Cleveland, Ohio, was haunted by a series of unsolved crimes involving unidentified victims found in the city's less visible neighborhoods. The perpetrator, dubbed the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, targeted vulnerable individuals whose tragic fates were overshadowed by societal biases of the time. Despite a high-profile investigation led by Elliot Ness, infamous for his role in battling organized crime, the killer's identity and motives remain shrouded in mystery. The case sparked debates about justice, inequality, and the challenges of solving crimes against marginalized communities. Sarah Winchester, widow of the rifle magnate, believes she was haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester guns. To confuse ghosts, she continuously built rooms, staircases leading to nowhere, and secret passages in her mansion for 38 years. Hungarian noblewoman Elizabeth Bathory, 1560 to 1614, is infamous for her chilling reputation. According to legend, she was obsessed with preserving her youth and was accused of unspeakable acts, with rumors linking her to the disappearance of hundreds of young women. While many details are likely exaggerated folklore, her arrest led to her permanent confinement within her castle, where she spent the rest of her life. In 1828, William Burke and William Hare exploited the growing demand for medical cadavers by secretly supplying bodies to Dr. Robert Knox, an Edinburgh anatomist. Over 10 months, a series of suspicious deaths were linked to them. When authorities intervened, Hare testified against Burke, who faced a highly publicized trial and ultimate punishment. During the early 20th century, lobotomies were seen as a miracle cure for mental illness. Dr. Walter Freeman, a key proponent, developed the ice pick lobotomy, inserting a metal rod through a patient's eye socket to sever brain connections. More than 50,000 patients were lobotomized in the U.S. alone, including children, prisoners, and people with minor disorders. During the Victorian era, ancient Egyptian mummies were shockingly repurposed for everything from paint pigment to medicine. Mummy brown was a pigment made from ground-up mummy remains used by painters well into the 19th century. Even more disturbing, some believed mummy powder had healing properties, leading to its use in medical treatments. This fascination led to mummy unwrapping parties, where wealthy Victorians unwrapped mummies for entertainment. During the Black Death, 1347 to 1351, an estimated 25 million people perished across Europe. Entire villages were wiped out, and with so many bodies, traditional burials became impossible. In response, mass graves, known as plague pits, were dug across Europe, some containing thousands of skeletons. The Bell Witch haunting is one of America's oldest and most famous ghost stories, dating back to early 19th century Tennessee. The Bell family reported terrifying encounters with an invisible entity that spoke, moved objects, and physically attacked family members, especially John Bell, who later died under mysterious circumstances. Some claim the Bell Witch was a vengeful spirit, while skeptics believe it was a hoax fueled by folklore. The Amityville Horror is one of America's most famous haunted house stories, stemming from real-life events. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family inside their Amityville, New York home. A year later, the Lutz family moved in and claimed to experience paranormal phenomena, including mysterious voices, levitating beds, and demonic apparitions. On November 22, 1987, an unknown individual hijacked 2 television stations in Chicago, interrupting broadcasts with a bizarre masked figure impersonating Max Headroom. The hacker's distorted voice and unsettling ramblings lasted nearly 90 seconds before the signal was restored. To this day, the identity of the hijacker remains unknown. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac Killer terrorized California, taking credit for at least 5 confirmed murders, though he claimed many more. The serial killer taunted police with cryptic letters, strange symbols, and ciphers sent to newspapers, daring the public to crack his coded messages. Decades later, some of his ciphers were finally solved, but the identity of the Zodiac Killer remains a mystery. In 1982, the Chicago Tylenol murders shook the nation when 7 people mysteriously died after taking cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules. The poisonings, believed to be random acts of tampering, triggered a nationwide panic and forced the pharmaceutical industry to redesign packaging with tamper-proof seals. Despite a massive investigation, the killer was never caught. On the night of March 12, 1928, the St. Francis Dam in California suddenly collapsed, releasing a massive 12 billion-gallon flood that raced through the Santa Clarita Valley at 50 miles per hour. The disaster killed over 400 people, sweeping away entire communities in minutes. Investigations later revealed that the dam had been built on unstable rock, and cracks had been ignored. The failure became one of America's deadliest engineering disasters. On July 30, 1945, the USS Indianapolis was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine, sinking in just 12 minutes. Of the 1,195 crew members, around 900 initially survived the sinking, only to face a terrifying ordeal. They were stranded in shark-infested waters for nearly 4 days. With no lifeboats and little food or water, many died from dehydration, saltwater poisoning, and relentless shark attacks. When help finally arrived, only 316 men remained alive. The tragedy became one of the worst naval disasters in U.S. history. On September 2, 1666, a fire started in a bakery on Pudding Lane, quickly spreading through the wooden houses of London. The fire raged for 4 days, destroying 13,000 homes, 87 churches, and major landmarks, including St. Paul's Cathedral. Though the official death toll was only 6, historians believe many more perished in the chaos. From 1932 to 1972, the U.S. government secretly conducted a medical experiment on 600 African American men in Tuskegee, Alabama, studying untreated syphilis. Participants were never told they had the disease and were denied proper treatment, even after penicillin became available in the 1940s. Instead, doctors let the disease progress to study its effects, causing lifelong suffering and premature deaths. The scandal was exposed in 1972. In April 1815, Indonesia's Mount Tambora erupted, unleashing one of the most powerful volcanic explosions in recorded history. The blast was 100 times more powerful than Mount St. Helens, ejecting billions of tons of ash into the atmosphere, which blocked sunlight for months. This caused global temperature drops, leading to crop failures, starvation, and extreme weather in Europe, Asia, and North America. 1816 became known as the year without summer, as snow fell in June, rivers froze in July, and famine spread worldwide. On December 6, 1917, one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history devastated Halifax, Canada. The disaster occurred when the SS Mont Blanc, a French cargo ship loaded with explosives, collided with the SS Imo in the city's harbor. The resulting blast leveled buildings, shattered windows miles away, and created a shockwave that could be felt over 200 miles, 320 kilometers away. Over 2,000 people were killed, and nearly 9,000 were injured, many by flying glass. A massive tsunami followed, further sweeping away survivors near the shoreline. The explosion was so powerful that it instantly vaporized the Mont Blanc, and its anchor was found over 2 miles away. Spontaneous human combustion, SHC, is the mysterious occurrence where a person suddenly bursts into flames without an external ignition source. Victims are often found almost completely incinerated, yet their surroundings remain largely untouched. A famous case is Mary Reeser, 1951, whose body was reduced to ash while her chair remained intact. Another was Dr. John Bentley, discovered with only one leg left unburned. Scientists suggest the wick effect, where body fat fuels a slow-burning fire, but no theory fully explains the extreme heat involved. In 1943, 4 boys exploring Hagley Wood in England discovered a woman's skeleton stuffed inside a hollow wych elm. Dubbed Bella, her identity and cause of death remain unknown, though her jawbone was missing and her hand severed. The case took a surreal turn when graffiti asking, "Who put Bella in the wych elm?" began appearing across the Midlands for decades. Theories range from espionage, she may have been a spy silenced during World War II, to occult rituals. In 1912, 8 people, 6 children and 2 adults, were brutally killed in their Villisca, Iowa, home with an axe. The crime scene, untouched by robbery or clear motive, baffled investigators. Suspects ranged from a traveling preacher to a disgruntled neighbor, but no convictions followed. The house, now a museum, draws true crime enthusiasts and paranormal investigators with reports of unexplained noises and shadows. In 1966, 2 men were found dead on Vintém Hill in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, under baffling circumstances. The men wore waterproof suits, lead eye masks, and carried a cryptic note reading, "Protect the essence and await the signal." Autopsies revealed no trauma or poison, and their identities remain unknown. Theories range from Cold War espionage involving radiation experiments to failed occult rituals, but no evidence confirmed either.